Hey, it's Zave. Weapons! You know, it'd be real nice if you could just slap on whatever you want and bonk everything in the game, and to a certain extent you can, but there comes a point to where you're going to need to start utilizing the best types of weapons with your characters. With that being said, which is better, a stat stick or a unique passive? Let's talk about it. But first, what is a stat stick and what is a unique passive? A stat stick is a weapon that doesn't do anything but give an unconditional bonus to your stats. The Wayne Wraith is a perfect example of this. It doesn't do anything but give additional skill damage. Another would be the Scream Shot, doing nothing but giving additional skill duration. A weapon with a unique passive is a bit different though. These are weapons that have special effects or give bonuses to your stats through specific conditions. Momiji Iteki is a katana that gives you additional crit damage. As long as you're dealing damage with the weapon, you get a 9% damage boost. On top of that, you get an additional 9% increase per combo level, meaning the more you spam melee attacks, the stronger your weapon gets. Another weapon with a unique passive would be Blue Current Pulse. You get an unconditional bonus to your skill duration. Every bullet shot ricochets to the nearest enemy, and dealing damage with the weapon, you get a 45% increase to your dual pistol damage. One of the best weapons in the game in my opinion. Hearing some of these passives, you may be thinking it's best to always use a weapon with a strong unique passive, but it's a little more complicated than that. What determines the weapon you choose is the character. You need to be able to analyze your character and depending on what they do and their strengths and weaknesses, choose the best weapon for them. Let's start with a simple one, the main character. The MC is a character who mainly utilizes melee attacks and spamming their first skill. Their second skill is a burst of damage and a weapon damage buff. So you're going to want a melee weapon that can help you with maintaining your resources, aka your sanity / energy, whichever you want to call it. And what do you know, the MC's signature melee weapon happens to be the best for that. Reminiscence gives you an unconditional bonus to your attack range and has a chance to restore your sanity every single time you crit. This not only helps with the MC's melee damage, but also helps keep your sanity high so you can spam your skills. But let's move on to a character who's a little more dependent on their skills. My perfect beautiful baby Hellfire. She is completely reliant on her skills for damage and scales off of HP, so her attack is going to be very low. Because of that, stat sticks are going to be the best way to go. The reason why is because she doesn't rely on weapon damage at all, so she'll barely be using her weapons, and even if she does, she won't be able to fully take advantage of most of their passives because her weapon damage is so low. So how do we make this character useful? You want weapons that can provide bonuses to her max HP and either skill damage or duration. For her melee, her best option would be her signature greatsword. It gives an unconditional bonus to her max HP, and every time she gets hit, it'll boost her skill duration to a max of an additional 45%. If you don't have her signature weapon yet, you can also use Undying Oneros. This whip sword gives an unconditional bonus to max HP as well, and every time you trigger a bonus effect, which is based on your trigger probability, you get even more max HP, and it's just that simple. When it comes to a ranged weapon for Hellfire, I'd recommend going with something that can, again, either boost your duration like the Scream Shot or your skill damage. Let's move on to the most flexible character in the game, Berenica. Berenica is a character that can heavily benefit from both unique passives and stat sticks. The reason why is because of how her kit is structured. Her first skill is heavily damaging and it's very spammable, and her passive is that when she deals damage with a skill or a sword type weapon, she has a chance to regain her sanity. Her second skill or ultimate makes her equip her consonance weapon and unleash a flurry of slashes, and all the damage scales off of skill damage and your attack stat. So what does all this mean? Since you not only want your attack stat to be as high as possible, you also want your skill damage stat to be as high as possible. Berenica can fully utilize the unique passives of weapons and get the most from stat bonuses that a stat stick can produce. Blade Amber Glow is a really good stat stick for her that allows her to fully utilize her own passive and reach some sick attack numbers. Momiji Iteki is extremely strong for any character that uses a lot of melee attacks, so use that if you don't want to spam your skill as much but still want access to some pretty big damage numbers. I haven't really talked a lot about ranged weapons, so let's go for Lyn for this last example. Most people only really use Lyn for her ult, and that's fair, it's arguably the best ultimate in the game. However, the best loadout that I've used on Lyn is a stat stick melee and a unique passive ranged weapon. For melee, I'd go with Blade Amber Glow. The attack bonus is nice for a character like Lyn who can fully utilize it. For the ranged weapon, I highly recommend Blue Current Pulse. They give a small unconditional bonus to your skill duration, the bullets ricochet, but the main draw here is dealing damage with this weapon buffs your dual pistol damage by 45%. And guess what? Lyn's ultimate is classified as dual pistols, so she should be getting that bonus. You should be starting to kind of get the picture here. Take a look at what your character does and choose the loadout that best brings out their full potential. As a general rule of thumb, I'd say if they're a character that's skill based, you probably want to go with more stat sticks, but if they're a character that can utilize their attack stat the most, then it might be nice to use some weapons with unique passives. That's actually it. It's pretty simple once you kind of get a hang of it. That's gonna be all for me. If you need any other tips or tricks, let me know. I'm dipping out. Have yourself a damn good one.